Sneaky big move yesterday. The Suns traded their 2031 pick for 3 Jazz firsts. They are loading up for Jimmy Butler, which we'll discuss. But the most awkward NBA interview this year was in the Suns locker room. Reporters asked Bradley Beal about a trade, and he said, "I haven't heard anything, but..."
If so, I need to be addressed because I hold the cards, so.
Not great. But what's crazy is Kevin Durant actually holds the cards in Phoenix, because last year they were the biggest big three in the NBA, but got destroyed in the postseason. A 106.8 offensive rating. For context, same as last place injured Grizzlies. Why? Because they played the #1 defense, the Timberwolves, who exposed them. But this year, it's even worse. Whenever they play a top team, Phoenix gets demolished again. Well, Kevin Durant is not going to play out his career on a team that can't compete. It's the entire reason he went to Phoenix in the first place. So last offseason, he refused to sign a $60 million extension. Oh, but if he waits till this summer, it's $124 million, so it makes sense. Well, what if he says no? Have you seen the Suns lately? They just played the banged up Cavs without Evan Mobley, no Karis LeVert. Boat race by double digits. Another first round exit? KD will leave. Even Stephen A. Smith, who knows KD, said Kevin Durant ain't too keen on staying in Phoenix. He's not demanding a trade or anything, but he wouldn't mind being out of there. Really? So what is next for Kevin Durant, who may only have 1 season of peak basketball left? But there are a ton of NBA games on tonight, which means there's a lot of spots to look for value when we play Underdog, which means we are more likely to win money. But as always, we're gonna have more fun watching the league tonight. I love to play pick'em. I pick higher or lower for different players, either my favorite players, whatever games I'm gonna watch that night. You can also win a ton of money this year with streaks. If you get 11 in a row, you 1,000x your cash. So let me give you my 2 picks. First up is Noah Clowney. What, you'd never heard of him? He's on the Nets. We're going lower on his boards. And then Desmond Bane, also lower on his rebounds. And best of luck if you were tailing those picks. By the way, you can get a free pick if you only like one of mine. Just use my promo code AMHOOPS. You get that free square, plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash. It really helps out the channel. Check out this map to see if Underdog's available in your area. Texas, California, Florida with champions, but always use the promo code AMHOOPS. Well, the owner, Matt Ishbia, bought the Suns for $4 billion in December 22. Just 1 year before, they were up 2-0 in the finals over the Bucks with Booker, CP3, Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, DeAndre Ayton. But the owner immediately flipped Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, and 4 unprotected firsts for Kevin Durant. And at the time, he said, "Oh, I think there's no risk." I don't look at it as a risk at all. Except, guy you just traded for 34 years old coming off an Achilles tear. But the real risk came about 2 months later, when we all heard the term second apron for the first time. Killed their chance at a sustainable basketball team. Then he traded like all their pick swaps for Bradley Beal to create a big three. And if you haven't noticed, big threes aren't really a thing in the NBA anymore. Contenders are organic, like OKC and Denver. Patient, like the Rockets, Magic, Cleveland Cavaliers. But the Suns are in 10th place with the highest payroll in NBA history. But how? How are they this bad with 2 Hall of Famers? Well, first off, the overall defense is terrible, 23rd worst in the NBA. Specifically, rim protection, also 23rd. Anyone can get buckets in the paint against this team. Also, rebounding is awful, so they give up extra possessions to get torched. But I think the worst stat in all of Phoenix is this. The 3 best lineups in the NBA are in Minnesota, Boston, and Indy, a massive point differential. When these lineups play, they dominate. The 3 worst? Phoenix, Portland, and the Wizards. But see that? Those are the Phoenix starters. Tyus Jones, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, KD, and Yusuf Nurkic. Now we see why Beal and Nurk got benched. But isn't that the whole point of the Phoenix Suns, right? Yeah, we may not have depth, can't really make many trades, but man, our starters are gonna crush you. But 3rd worst in the NBA? What is the point of this team? So you have to ask yourself, why not trade KD now? Are they gonna be closer to a championship if he resigns? Closer at 37 and 38 years old than they are now? If the answer is no, what are they waiting for? Jimmy Butler. If they could somehow pull that off, it could revive the whole experiment. But how does a second apron team even make such a big trade? Well, the rules say that they can't send more than one player at a time, and that one player has to make as much or more than Jimmy Butler. Only guy would be Bradley Beal. And a new report says he is open to waiving that no-trade clause for the right situation. Well, what is that? Obviously, he likes the Miami Heat, but they don't want to take on his massive contract. So the Suns have 2 weeks left to figure this out until the trade deadline. They need to find a third team to take Bradley Beal where he wants to go and who has assets to send to Miami that they want. Even with these new Jazz picks, it's a long shot. So what next? Well, they're probably gonna fight for the 10 seed and get beat in the first round. KD is not gonna re-sign for that. So what next? Well, I think there are 3 teams that actually make sense for KD. The first is Golden State. And if you don't think he would return there, did you hear KD recently talking about the Warriors? Sounds like he misses them.
The Warriors, we played together. We actually played real team basketball for us to win. We made shots, you know what I'm saying? We could shoot the ball efficiently. So it worked out perfectly. I think it was just the perfect move. I'm grateful I was able to get that chance.
So the Warriors get Kevin Durant and the Suns get Andrew Wiggins, Jonathan Kuminga, Gary Payton II, Kevon Looney, and 2 first-round picks. This would give the Suns depth and picks. For the Warriors, KD has both the size and the scoring that they need next to Steph, but there's an even spicier return that we could see. What about the Oklahoma City Thunder? Return to where it all started to win a ring. Yes, SGA is their franchise, but they're a selfless team who could welcome a superstar like KD. We would all love to see it, right? But how realistic is this trade? Obviously, OKC's got like 1 million picks to send, but what else? Well, the Thunder get KD, and the Suns get Isaiah Hartenstein, Isaiah Joe, and 4 first-round picks. 2 Isaiahs and 4 picks. Now, OKC obviously loves Hartenstein, but KD's height stacks up too. The only problem is most picks are protected there, and I don't really see OKC making a huge swing like this after growing organic for all these years. So by far the best fit is the Houston Rockets. Obviously not on their timeline, but hear me out. There is a way to trade for KD and keep all their young guys' future. When Houston bailed out Brooklyn by sending their picks back this summer, they got 3 Suns assets: the 2025 first-round swap, their unprotected 2027 first, and the protected 2029. At the same time, Woj said, Houston wants to trade for Kevin Durant, and that becomes far easier if they can return the Suns' picks. Now, Houston has the picks to make the Suns whole again. But why? Why wouldn't they just want Devin Booker? Well, they would, but he is under contract for 3 more seasons, so it's not really up to them. Durant could both be available and be the missing piece for the Rockets. I mean, when the Nets hired Steve Nash, you know who the #1 choice from KD to be his next head coach was? Ime Udoka, who happens to be coaching Houston. Also, his assistant is Royal Ivey, a guy that KD met when he was a teenager, and they have been described as best friends. So what if all it took was Kevin Durant for Fred VanVleet, Jeff Green, and all those Phoenix assets back? Yes, the Suns get their picks to rebuild, and Houston gets Durant to compete for titles the next 2 years. At the very least, they will get all their young guys a lot of valuable playoff experience until KD retires. But believe me, the Suns are going down hard. And as soon as Durant refuses an extension this summer, it'll be the biggest story in the NBA. It's just a matter of time before all these trades are getting talked about. But the last big trade in the NBA was Karl Anthony Towns to the Knicks. And at the time, people were like, oh, you know, a B+ trade for Minnesota. But despite having that #1 lineup in the NBA, the team right now is an F-. And Anthony Edwards is getting pretty frustrated.